My name's Zio, and just recently I finished a playthrough of Phantasy Star IV over on Twitch to celebrate reaching 600 followers over there. Back in February, I did a playthrough of Phantasy Star III over there to commemorate our 500 followers. After that, I made a video exploring whether or not it was as bad as people said it was. On the other side of that coin, you have Phantasy Star IV, which has been widely praised over the years. So in the spirit of that last video, we'll seek to answer, was Phantasy Star IV really that good? So a quick history lesson here. Phantasy Star, The End of the Millennium, was released in December of 1993 on Sega Mega Drive in Japan, and then in 1995 everywhere else. This was one of the rare RPG series where all of its mainline entries were made available in both Japan and the Anglosphere. It might not be such a big deal nowadays, but back then, that was huge. Phantasy Star IV has often been compared to other heavy hitters in the 16-bit era over the years. I've even heard it called the best RPG of the 16-bit era. Really? That's an awfully bold statement there. We're talking about the mid-90s here, so Square and Enix in their prime? Okay, maybe not so much Enix in the States, but definitely Square. You had Final Fantasy IV, Final Fantasy VI, Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. Okay, maybe not that one. Secret of Mana, Secret of Evermore. Okay, maybe not that one either. Chrono Trigger, Super Mario RPG. And these are just the more prominent ones that did get localized. Don't get me started on Dragon Quest V and VI. Of course, that franchise went dormant overseas until the early 2000s after number 4. Well, you get the idea here. I didn't get around to this one until sometime in 2000 thanks to emulation. I did see magazine articles about it back in the day though. Despite the game being almost a decade old at that time, it did make an impression on me, even after playing those other games so many times. I liked the story, and I liked the characters, and I liked how major story beats were communicated through manga panels. Back in that day, I had a friend tell me, don't play 4 until you've finished 1 and 2, otherwise you're gonna be clueless by the time you get to Desolus. Going into it at that time, I'd gotten a little ways into those two, but I still pushed forward regardless, and at no point did I ever feel clueless about what was going on. Sure, it would have enriched the experience by providing more context, but the dialogue is written in such a way that you didn't have to play the other ones in order to follow what was going on. Fast forward to the year of our Lord 2023. An older, wiser Zio revisits this game, and my opinion of the game all these years later remains mostly unchanged. The game has a likable cast, and the manga panel story cutscenes give major story beats much more weight. I really enjoyed Chaz's journey and watching him navigate his way through losing what is pretty much a mother figure to him. You watch him grow not just as a fighter, but as a man. The epilogue was heartwarming, and they did a very good job putting a nice bow on everything before the franchise would go dormant for a few years. Presentation-wise, it definitely looked and felt like a latter-day 16-bit RPG. This was going to be a Sega CD game initially, but looking back at some of those early CD-ROM games, I think the pivot to a cartridge was a mercy. The menus were a bit clunky and the random encounter rate was a bit high, which was par for the course at that time. But the macro system and the combination attacks let me mow through them rather efficiently. I didn't have too much trouble with the bosses, but there were a couple occasions where I had to rethink my approach. There was a part of the final boss fight that damn near gave me a heart attack after killing 3 of my party members. I did, however, manage to bounce back and get the win. I had a lot of fun going through this game again, especially streaming it. I'd gone into this thinking, oh, I'll probably just get maybe 2 or 3 average viewer, maybe 5 or 6 tops, and the regulars will roll in here and there, and that's it. But oh my goodness gracious, that ended up not being the case. I think I caught like 5 raids that first stream, and these weren't little 1 or 2 viewer baby raids either. Big shout outs to anyone who raided or hung out during those streams. You guys made the experience all the more enjoyable. So is it worthy of the praise it's received over the years? Well, yes. While Phantasy Star IV more or less reinvented the wheel and didn't do anything novel like its predecessors did, the execution was solid. Was this the best Phantasy Star game up to that point? I would say absolutely. It does show a marked improvement over the others in terms of gameplay and storytelling. Best 16-bit RPG? No. It's not even fair how successfully ambitious games like Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger are, but this is perhaps the best version of the experience that Phantasy Star sought to provide at that time. An unlikely band of heroes from different worlds joining together for a common good, struggling and sacrificing along the way, but ultimately prevailing in the end. And because of this, and the reasons I mentioned before, it has certainly earned its place among those titans. So, what did you think of this game? Have you played it before? You know how much I love chopping it up with you guys in the comments section and on the streams. Come on by and hang out sometime. We'd love to have you. Anyway, that's a wrap. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And remember, to thine own self be true. Until next time, farewell.